Yo, what's good, people? Back at you with another episode. NLDS Game 1 tonight. Phillies, Dodgers, the showdown. Let's get into it. Make sure you go to the YouTube page, do all that good stuff. Subscribe, like the video, click the notification bell. We're going to get active with this NLDS coming up, man. We are finally met now. We are about to commence battle. The two top teams, in my opinion, in baseball over the past couple of years are finally getting their showdown. Tonight, Citizens Bank Park, 6:38 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We have the showdown between Shohei Ohtani, generational talent, and that Dodgers team. And on the mound for the Phillies is our up-and-coming ace, who was a Cy Young, in the Cy Young conversation, Christopher Sanchez. And then the lineups for tonight, they finally came in around like 2:30, 3 o'clock. Starting lineup for the LA Dodgers, leading off Shohei Ohtani. In the 2 spot, we got Mookie Betts. Batting third, Teoscar Hernandez. Batting fourth, Freddie Freeman. Batting fifth, Tony Edman. Batting sixth, let me get these names right. Let's get them right. So I'm looking at the abbreviated names. Tommy Edman, excuse me. Batting sixth, Enrique Hernandez. Batting seventh, Alex Call. Eighth, Andy Pages. And ninth, Ben Wortvet. And then the starting lineup for the Philadelphia Phillies, your Philadelphia Phillies. Trey Turner leading off, back healthy. Welcome back, sir. Batting 2, Kyle Schwarber, MVP, conversationalist, along with Shohei and a few others. Bryce Harper in the 3 spot, the captain. Alec Bohm back from the DL in the 4 spot. Marsh batting 5th, the beard, Brandon Marsh. Batting 6th, JT Realmuto. 7th, Max Kepler. Batting 8th, Harrison Bader, the flowing hair, out today in full force. And batting 9th, Bryson Stott. Let's go ahead and get into the matchups and break this thing down. So let's get into some few little fun facts and stats here. So going into this game, the Dodgers, they got knocked out of the NLDS in 2023, so we did not see them. The Phillies got knocked out in the NLDS in 2024 against the Diamondbacks. We remember that series. And then the matchup is finally happening this year between these powerhouses. So obviously you have Shohei Ohtani and Kyle Schwarber being the NL MVP frontrunners. And you have former MVPs and World Series champions in Freddie Freeman. And Mookie Betts as well. Mookie Betts being an all-time great player with the Red Sox as well. And then we counter their superstars with our own superstars in Bryce Harper, the captain, and then the 2025 NL batting champion, Trey Turner. So you look at this matchup, the Phillies and the Dodgers are the two most winningest teams in the majors over the past few years. The Dodgers having 304 wins since 2023, and the Phillies having 290 wins since the start of 2023. The 304 wins include the postseason and the World Series games that the Dodgers had last year. So you look at the Dodgers, they've got 2 World Series in the past 5 years, I believe. And the Phillies, we're trying to get our first since 2008. Obviously, we went back against the Astros, did not get it done, but we're looking to run it back this year and get through an extremely tough test in the Dodgers. So let's go ahead and go break down the matchups here. And first off, let's look at Shohei Ohtani, the man, the myth, the legend. 2-way player, already one of the best players of all time this early into his career, despite having 2 surgeries on his right elbow. So you look at Shohei Ohtani, 1-1 this year, a 2.87 ERA. Didn't play a whole lot of games this year. He came off his second major surgery, but he's been dominant this year. And in his last 16 2/3 innings, he's allowed 0 runs. Think about that. Almost 2 whole games allowed 0 runs. And he had a nice little end to September, including his win in Philly against Christopher Sanchez. So it's kind of ironic that game, I believe September 16th, was a preview, a prelude, if you will, to this NLDS matchup in Game 1 between the same pitchers. The only difference is we're healthier now. We have Trey Turner and Alec Bohm back. So let's go ahead and really look at Shohei Ohtani and Christopher Sanchez. So let's look at some of the key stats. I just want to throw one stat out there, and that stat is called weighted on-base average. And it's a very, very good and comprehensive stat that helps to assess how effective you are at hitting as well as pitching. It's a very good overall stat. So a good WOBA for a pitcher would be, go ahead and check my notes again. A good WOBA for a pitcher would be about 0.291 to 0.31. So that's good and solid for an average starter. And the lower the number gets, the more effective the pitcher is. So 0.26 to 0.29 is a great pitcher or a strong number 2 starter, and below 260 is an elite or ace level starter. So you think about the Shohei Ohtanis, the Zach Wheelers, the Garrett Coles, Sanchez, not there yet, but on his way, especially after this breakout season and being in the Cy Young conversation. So the WOBA, the expected WOBA, which is based off of key metrics, batting metrics against said pitcher. And in this case, things like exit velocity, so how hard the ball is coming off the bat, launch angle, meaning how steep of an angle are you sending the ball out on, batting average, expected batting average, as well as expected slugging percentage. How often are you getting extra base hits? That's what slugging percentage is. So batting average is how often you hit percentage-wise, and then slugging percentage is how often do you get extra base hits, i.e. doubles, triples, and home runs. And they're weighted differently. Obviously higher for home runs. So the more home runs or triples and or doubles you have, the higher your slugging percentage will be, and the higher your OPS will be. The OPS is the combination, is a combined stat entailing batting average as well as entailing on base percentage and your slugging percentage. So right, the expected WOBA for Shohei Ohtani going into the season was 0.252, which is already exceptional. And then he exceeded those metrics against the Phillies roster with a WOBA of 139, which is insane. I mean, that's otherworldly. And then you look at Christopher Sanchez, his expected WOBA was 0.304. And this year against the Dodgers, or against the current, his career, against the current Dodgers roster, his WOBA is 0.308, which is good. It's an average MLB starter WOBA value, and that's evidenced by his struggles early on against the Dodgers. Because if you go back to that game, if you recall that game, Shohei Ohtani pitched 5 innings of no-hit baseball. Lights out. We could not touch him. Nobody could. Now, granted, Trey Turner and Alec Bohm were not in that game, but we still had a problem making contact against Ohtani. And I'll get into what pitches that he really used to be able to go through our lineup for 5 straight. But what happened in that game is they took Ohtani out, and then as soon as they put their bullpen to work, we put up 5 like that. And it was out of nowhere. I mean, we were just single. Then I know Marsh had a home run to put us ahead. And then somebody else had a big hit. Either way, man, we tore their bullpen up. And that has been their kryptonite this entire year. that's the reason why they're using Clayton Kershaw out of the bullpen for this NLDS, because they know Trinan and those other guys, they're going to fall apart like a house of cards. They're not that good at all. And I remember Trinan in that game, I was just watching it, the highlights, he served up a meatball to Marchand. Yeah. He threw, bro, Blake Trinan, I think that's his first name. I know Blake Snell on their team. I don't know what Trinan's first name is, but the catcher he was pitching to Marchand, who was batting as a left-handed hitter. The pitcher held his glove up for a cutter high towards the outside portion of the plate. Not only did he miss that, he missed it middle in. Right on the inside edge of the plate in the middle. So that may be fine for a fastball, but not for a cutter, where you have a fastball that is effectively breaking into the bat path of the left-handed hitter. And Marchand took it for a 3-run shot to break up the game after they had just tied it at 6-6 the inning before. He hit a 3-run shot immediately the next inning to put us ahead for good. So that's, in a nutshell, what the Dodgers bullpen is like. And as Phillies fans, we know what it's like to have a really shaky bullpen, especially during that Astros World Series. And we've had a history over the 2010s of having shaky bullpen play. But now we actually have a solid, at least closer, and really, really good starting pitching. And outside of Kirkland, who's been a little up and down, we've been pretty solid with our bullpen. So that's one of their weaknesses. So you really want to get past Ohtani, but here's the issue. Ohtani, couple of things. Even after the 2 surgeries, his fastball has actually gotten faster on average. He's averaging about 98.4 miles an hour on his fastball, something of that nature. If my notes serve me correct. Let's go ahead and check it. Yep, 98.2 or 98.4, whatever. That's a career high. Even when he was with the Angels, when he first broke onto the scene before all the injuries. And even in 2023 and 2024, where the velocity was a little bit lower, he actually picked it up this year. And they've taken the innings restrictions off of him for the playoffs. And now, in addition to that fastball, he used to really get a lot of people out with his split finger fastball. That was his go-to pitch. But now he has added in a slider, and that now is his out pitch to get strikeouts. And he's been extremely effective this year. He has a high swing and miss rate for that slider. And that slider has 36 inches of vertical break, which is really, really good. And he throws them in the zone about 51% of the time. So he'll throw them out of the zone for a third pitch strike at times, but he can throw these pitches for strikes and still get you out because he has a lot of movement on that slider. And I'll give you insight into how good this pitch is. So in 2018, 21, 22, and 23, he had the highest whiff rate with his splitter at 56% in 18, 49% in 21, 50% in 22, and 44% in 23. But now in 2025, he is back with that slider now, and he has a 57% whiff rate, which is 1% higher than his previous high with his splitter in 2018 with the Angels. So he has completely revamped his pitching repertoire. So you look at Shohei Ohtani, who's a right-handed pitcher, right? Against right-handed batters, that splitter, which now has more horizontal movement to the right side of the plate, can be a problem because you don't want the pitch going into the bat path of a right-handed pitcher. But what he has now to go with that sweeping curve is that slider. So you have a slider. For those of you, thanks for tuning in, y'all. Leave comments about the series and the things I'm saying, who you think's going to win, what you think about the things I'm saying. But if you compare Ohtani's sweeper to his slider, they both have about 36 inches of vertical break from up here to down here. but the sweeper has 13 inches of horizontal break compared to only 4 inches of horizontal break for the slider. So what essentially happens as a right-handed batter, you're seeing the slider come in. I'll try to make this as clear as possible from your view. You have the slider coming in fast, and then the sweeper, it looks the same because he throws the fastball, the sweeper, and the slider out of the same arm slot now, which makes it very, very hard to pick up on the pitch before it's thrown. Before, he was throwing his four-seam fastball and his sweeper from a 33 to 36 degree arm slot, which is damn near the same, and he still does. But his splitter used to be thrown out of a 41 degree angle, whereas now his splitter is thrown out of a 35 degree angle. And I would assume his slider as well. So now it's even more difficult to be able to anticipate what pitch he's throwing unless you really can pick up on the spin of the ball and its release point, because he's throwing it out of the very, very similar arm slots. That's very, very tough on hitters. And it's a reason why not only the Phillies, but many other teams in the league have had such a tough time hitting him in general, but especially this year. Okay? And this is in addition to being putting up 50 home runs as a hitter as well. So this guy is just tough, period. And this aligns with his stats too. He has an ERA of 2.33 and a whip value, which translates to walks and hits per inning pitched, of 0.99. So he's only putting a person on base, about one person on base each inning. So that may be from a walk, that may be from an errant hit here or there, but he does not let people get on base. So people can have a low ERA, but what you really want to look at is the WHIP value as well as the WOBA value, because it tells you how often the guy lets people on base, regardless of whatever else is going on around them, as well as how efficient they are overall as a pitcher. He has a high strikeout rate this year in his last 5 starts. And excuse me, I want to clarify, those numbers I put out were for his last 5 starts, including the one he had against the Phillies in September. And his strikeout rate in his last 5 starts is 11.6, which is crazy. That's elite numbers. His walk rate per 9 innings is 1.55. I'm not as familiar with that stat. It's not incredible, but it's not bad either. It's average. It's nothing crazy. And I'll get into what I think about that stat as I talk about his location later. But point is, he's not really walking the whole lot of people. If you get on base, it's typically because he walked you. Otherwise, he's striking your ass out and sitting you down, more or less. So with Ohtani, you have to really look at the fastball, the sweeper, and the slider. Those are the 3 that you really have to look out for. He'll mix in the cutter here and there, but the fastball, the sweeper, and the slider. And here's a little bit of pitching theory. What makes this repertoire so difficult is that you have 3 pitches that look the same in the cutter, the slider, and the sweeper, having this sweeping motion, right? They all have this horizontal sweeping motion, but then the slider and the sweeper have vertical motion to them as well. And then you add in the speed differential between the cutter, the sweeper, and the slider, and that's where it gets very, very difficult for a right-handed hitter, for example, to be able to make contact against Ohtani. And then he's still able to throw his slider for strikes against lefties. He did it against Kyle Schwarber in our last game. So that slider is coming on a 1 and 2 count no matter what, more likely than not. And it's not that he's throwing it, it's that he makes it look like a cutter or a fastball. And by the time you realize it's a slider, it's already going in for a strike. He can throw it for a strike and still make you miss. So I think it was really good that the Phillies got a chance to get a look at Shohei Ohtani on the 16th of September. At least 3 at-bats to get a sense for what his pitches look like, What's his delivery look like? What's his release point? What does he like to go to in 0-0 counts? Counts where he doesn't have leverage, like 2-1 or 1-0 or 2-0. What is he doing counts where he does have leverage, like 1-2 or 0-2 or 0-1? You get a sense for how he wants to attack guys, especially against the left-handed bats in Kyle Schwarber and Bryce Harper. And then the other guys like Bader. Who else is right-handed? The other right-handed bats in our lineup, giving Trey Turner the scouting report on how he wants to attack with that sweeper and that slider. Because historically, at least against the Diamondbacks, we had a very, very tough time against the slider. And I think when I covered that series, that was one of my criticisms. Even in the Astros series, in the World Series, they had a very, very bad tendency of chasing pitches, and not just chasing pitches out the zone, but chasing the slider, particularly with Trey Turner and Alec Bohm. So, getting the scouting report, looking at the game footage, and seeing exactly where he releases the slider at and where it lands on average can give them a heads up of, okay, I know the slider is coming and I'm looking for the ball to be released at a certain point, and I'll have a good gauge of where it's going to land versus going in cold and not having any idea about what this guy is about. So that's the scoop on Shohei. Let's go ahead and switch over to Christopher Sanchez. Not a whole lot to say here because we know him as Phillies fans. The 3 pitches he got, that 97-mile-an-hour sinker, he throws about 47.3% of the time. The changeup, that nasty circle change, he throws about 35 to 36% of the time. And then his slider, which he throws about 17% of the time. He loves throwing that slider to lefties and at times righties when he can locate it. Now, right now, his sinker's averaging about 95.8 miles an hour, which is a career high. He was only throwing about 92, 93 last year, maybe 95 tops. And this year, he came out smoking with his velo. The changeup averaging about 86.6 miles an hour with really good movement. And then his slider averaging about 86 miles an hour. So again, you go back to the speed differential. You have a sinker. The sinker, think of it this way. Think of a triangle. You have a sinker from a left-handed pitcher that comes in like this, fast, 97 miles an hour. Then you have a changeup. You follow my hand, comes in like this, same motion but slower. That speed differential is so hard to deal with when the release point looks the same and the delivery looks the same. It looks like the same pitch, but you have a 10-mile-an-hour drop-off damn near. That's why these guys are swinging and whiffing on these pitches so much this year. And then you throw in a slider, it comes out looking like sinker and that or changeup, and then drops down. Now, all of a sudden, instead of dropping this way at 86 miles an hour, you have a slider coming in and dropping down at 86. And at times, if he's locating, he can really punish you as a right-handed pitcher. But when he's not locating, that's where he can get into trouble with that slider. And Kike Hernandez hit a home run against him in the September game matchup against Ohtani. And then he almost hit another one that ended up being a sac fly to put them up 4-0. And ironically, he actually finished the game, and he might have got the win in that game because Brandon Marsh eventually put us up when we killed their bullpen. But yeah, he got hurt on the slider against Kike, and then another person I can't bring to mind. I don't know if it was Muncy or who it was, but he threw that slider inside to a right-hander. Yeah, Muncy's left-handed. He threw a slider inside to a left-hander. It was not inside enough. And even though it was low enough in the zone, it wasn't middle in, it was still over the middle. And that slider is going right into the bat path of a right-handed hitter against a left-handed pitcher, and that's not what you want. The same thing I said about Shohei Ohtani not wanting to throw a splitter to a left-hander, to a right-hander, because, again, that pitch runs into their power. As a left-hander, Sanchez does not want to throw his slider into the power swing of a right-handed batter. But all in all, his last five starts, phenomenal. 1.68 ERA in 32 and 2/3 innings, a .75 WHIP value. He wasn't letting anybody get on base, not giving up runs. 1.68 ERA and not letting anybody get on base. And his walk rate was .56. So compare that to Ohtani's walk rate of 1.55 in his last 5 games. That's so low. He's not walking anybody. He's not necessarily getting as many strikeouts as Ohtani, but he's getting 8.66 strikeouts per 9. So he's getting a strikeout an inning and getting a lot of outs off of contact. It could be a foul ball, could be a ground ball, could be a fly out, but he's able to get a little more contact than Ohtani's getting and still get the outs. Highly effective. And after that 4-0 start, he locked in and pretty much shut that Dodgers lineup down after that. So hopefully he's able to take that momentum and see the things that they were doing, particularly just not missing those mistake pitches on those sliders inside. I think he'll be all right. I think he'll be just fine. But he's going to have to keep in mind, just like we saw Ohtani, they saw him. So make the adjustments to their adjustments. You know they're going to be looking to adjust to that changeup. They're going to be looking fastball, sitting changeup, trying to get that timing down. That is the conundrum most teams run into against Christopher Sanchez. And hopefully he can stay 2 to 3 steps ahead of the Dodgers in this series. Particularly if it goes to 5 games, which I have a strong feeling it will, because both teams it's a coin flip. It really is a coin flip in this series here. Both of these teams are high power, great starting pitching, great lineups, and I just think we have a better bullpen. I think that's where the difference really is in this series. Otherwise, it's really, really close. So you go ahead and look at this Dodgers lineup, and particularly them against Sanchez. Ohtani is 4 for 16 career for a .250 average. Mookie Betts hitting .333. Teoscar hitting .417. Freddie Freeman, lefty on lefty, struggling. And Freddie Freeman, I mean, if you remember him with the Braves, he's always been a great hitter. He struggles against Chris Sanchez, and we hope that continues. He's 1 for 11 with 1 strikeout. But think about it. Those other 9 outs that he's gotten have been off of contact. I mean, you out of your 10 outs, you have 1 strikeout. So he is locating and whatever game plan he has going up to the plate, he's executing it against Freddie Freeman, because that's the danger hitter in their lineup to me, outside of Ohtani. Obviously, Betts and Hernandez, they're monsters at the plate, but it's really Freddie Freeman is the one that you worry about if you allow Mookie Betts and Ohtani and Hernandez to get on base, because Freddie Freeman can hit with the best of them, including Ohtani when he's hot. Tommy Edmonds hitting .300. He's 3 for 10 against Chris Sanchez. And then the rest of the fellas, a mixed bag. Pages, 4 for 10 with a strikeout, no home run. So I don't know if he's hitting singles or doubles or whatnot. I didn't look at the OPS and the slugging percentage, but I think outside of the top 3 batters, really, I'm looking for Sanchez to be able to shut down the rest of that lineup. And particularly being able to get after Mookie Betts, who he had a very hot end to this season, but he showed he started this year slow, man. He was having a very bad year. So him and Bryce Harper actually had mirror opposites in terms of their hitting this year. Bryce Harper really had a torrid summer and cooled off during September. Really did not hit well during September. Whereas Mookie Betts, he was horrible for the first 1 to 2/3 of this year, and then really picked it up during the stretch run of the season where he's just been on fire. So then you go ahead and flip over to the Phillies lineup. You have Trey Turner back and you have Alec Bohm. So Trey Turner being in that leadoff spot changes a lot in this rematch against Ohtani. Because the way I look at it, Ohtani, that first pitch, and I'm going to bring up, I don't know if I'll have time to put it in this video, but I may put it in another video if we end up having Game 5 and we see Ohtani again for whatever reason. Against left-handers, his go-to pitches, especially in 0-0 counts, or even whether in early counts, 0-0 or 1-0, if he doesn't have leverage yet, he's going fastball, and he's typically trying to paint the edges. He's not really trying to throw the ball over the middle to you. He's throwing 44% of his pitches to left-handed batters as fastballs, four-seam fastballs. 10% of his pitches to the lefties are sweepers. He's not really throwing that to lefties for the same reason he don't throw splitters to righties. He don't want the sweeper running into the bat path of Kyle Schwarber or Bryce Harper. And then his slider, he's throwing about 12% of the time, 11% of the time. Don't matter who up there, you know that slider's coming. And then his curveball, he's throwing about 10% of the time against lefties. And then he'll mix in that cutter. He has quite a repertoire, but it's really that against lefties, it's that slider and that cutter. He'll mix in the sweeper here and there, but he don't really like throwing it against lefties because it's risky. And then against righties, he's coming back again with that four-seam fastball, but then that sweeper, he starts pounding the zone with that sweeper. He's going to hit you with that fastball. He'll locate that slider in a leverage count like 0-2, 1-2, but he's really going to hit you with that sweeper to the point that you're not going to know if the sweeper or the slider's coming. That's really his bread and butter there. From time to time, he'll mix in his sinker there to try to get inside on the hands. That's a situational pitch, though. But really, you have to be looking as a left-handed hitter for that fastball and that slider. If I were Schwarber and Harper, I would be sitting fastball and slider. And in that game, when I was looking at film, there was one at bat where Bryce Harper whiffed on a curveball. But if you look at that at bat, he was right on that curveball. He just missed because that curveball had so much break, but his timing was on point, and his location of the barrel through the zone was close to where that ball passed home plate. You just got to tip your hat to Ohtani for just throwing a great pitch. But it seemed like Bryce Harper was on that pitch, which is a good sign. Kyle Schwarber, he came with that fastball high on the first pitch. I think it was the first at bat. And then on the 1-0 count, he came with another fastball high inside, which was called for a ball. Again, he's throwing that fastball hopefully for a strike in the spot he wants. But if he don't get the strike in the spot he wants, from my vantage point, Ohtani's like, I'm okay because I'm going to locate with this slider that's going to look like a fastball on the next pitch, but it's going to drop, and I'll get my strike. So I think that just speaks to a guy in Ohtani who's just ultimately confident in his stuff, point blank, period. When you're a great pitcher, you don't aim to miss your spots, but you're okay with throwing in a zone and getting the location you want. Either I throw it where I want to, or I throw it in a spot where you can't get to it. And I'm okay with resetting and coming back the next pitch because I'm going to get you. That's what you do when you're confident. When you're not confident, you try to locate for strikes because you're not sure where your next pitch is going to be at. A la the Dodgers bullpen. Just look at Trinan. Go ahead and look at the sequence between him and Rafael Marchand and look at the home run pitch. Look at where the catcher set up the glove at and look at where the pitch landed and look at how bad the location is on that. You won't see that with Ohtani. You won't see that with Yamamoto. You won't see that with Blake Snell at times, but you will see that with that damn bullpen. So that's what you're looking for. You're looking to be, here's the keys to victory. One, being patient with Ohtani. Know that he's going to be okay with missing location on that first pitch because he doesn't want to give you a fastball down the middle. Be patient. Even if it's a strike, don't swing at it if it's not in a spot you don't like. As a left-handed hitter, again, be looking at those 4 quadrants, middle in, as well as a little bit high in the zone. That's your sweet spot to pull the ball. Make him throw the ball to you. Study the arm angles and the release points and look for fastball down the middle or high. And if you're looking for fastball high, be anticipating a drop in the pitch coming from a slider. Just look for that pitch in your zone. Okay, and then you adjust from there. And then second key to victory for the Phillies would be get to Clayton Kershaw and that LA bullpen. Once you get to Kershaw, you want to get Ohtani out of the game as soon as possible. It could be 4 innings, it could be 5 innings like last game. Because last game we played against them showed you how quickly it can fall apart if you get to Trinan and them boys. And Clayton Kershaw, we'll see what he looks like in the postseason. I don't know how good or bad he's been this year. He's obviously not the same pitcher he was when he was a Cy Young Award winner in his prime, but he still brings you some semblance of pedigree to try to reinforce that bullpen. Get to him as early as possible. Make sure they limp him out as early as possible. You get to him and then get to the rest of that bullpen and do it early, because the earlier you can do that, the more worn out their bullpen will be in game 2, 3, and 4, 5 if necessary. And then third is, as a righty, pitching against righties as Christopher Sanchez, do not throw sliders inside unless you are confident that your stuff is sharp today, because you just saw what happens when you miss location in the last game that you played matching up against Ohtani and that squad. And it wasn't even the big bats that got you. It was the Kike Hernandez's of the world that got you. So be on point. That being said, if they take care of those things, if Chris Sanchez does what he's been doing all year and just tightens up on not missing location on the sliders and getting a little too cute against right-handed batters, I think he'll be just fine. Even against this Dodgers lineup. Get to that bullpen, and then just be disciplined against Ohtani, because you want to make him work. Because it's not necessarily about how great he is as a pitcher. It's about making him work to the point that it affects him as a batter as well. I don't know if it was the World Series run or the year before, but you saw where he had the elbow injury, and he was a compromised player at times. I'm not saying I want him to see him get hurt. I'm not saying that I think he's hurt now. I don't think he is. But you want that fatigue factor to come in. Just as with basketball, when you have a great player on offense, the best way to shut down their offense is to make their ass run up and down the court and play defense. Then your legs ain't there when you want to jack up those 3-pointers, when you want to hit that midi. Your legs are gone. Same thing with baseball, with a two-way player. Get to him as a pitcher and make him work. And now, the more pitches he throws, the more that's going to affect him as a batter and affect his availability for a Game 4 or Game 5. So these are the things that I'm looking at for this series. But I think that the Phillies have a good chance to win Game 1. But you're going to have to be patient against Ohtani, because you know exactly what he's going to bring. There really is this is not difficult to figure out. This is an all-time great player, and he's going to be tough to hit. It just is what it is. Okay? It's just about, can your hitters be disciplined enough to be able to get pitches that they can send for extra base hits, preferably home runs with guys on base, and or extra base hits with guys in scoring position. So I think the Phillies have a good chance to win this game. The Dodgers were slight favorites when I looked at the betting odds, but I think the Phillies should win Game 1. Let me know what you think, how you see this playing out, and I will talk to you after the game. Peace.